In today's world where security seems more fragile than ever, can anyone really feel safe? If a former president isn't immune to threats, what hope do the rest of us have? This is the exact picture that comes up when looking at the disturbing case of Thomas Matthew Crooks and his alleged plot against Donald Trump. What really drives someone to target such a high-profile figure? Is it sheer hatred, or is there a darker motive at work? And if so, what does that mean for the rest of us? Well, to understand Crooks' true intentions, we should first take a look at who he really is. The guy fits the profile of what experts call a loner personality. He was often described as quiet and withdrawn by those who knew him. But that's not all. Crooks could go to the extent of sitting alone at lunch just to keep himself company. From that aspect alone, you can imagine the extremes to which Crooks, as a loner, might have adapted. This kind of social isolation can be a red flag, especially when combined with other factors. However, what's more worrying is that police investigators discovered that Crooks had searched for symptoms of depressive disorder on his phone. This implies that he could have been experiencing some mental health complications that could have led to his actions. Whether it's speculation or not, one thing is certain. His loner personality wasn't limited to having his lunch alone. It extended to his family as well. His family life seemed to have this kind of mystery and complication. He lived with his parents in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, but details about his relationship with them were scarce. Interestingly, both his parents were licensed professional counselors. You would think this could be a blessing since he had better support over any mental health struggles, but sometimes being so close to an issue can make it harder to see. There is some truth in this since when you picture Crooks' social life, the image that emerges is quite bleak. Multiple sources describe him as an outcast who was bullied in school. One former classmate even said Crooks was mocked for wearing hunting outfits to school. This kind of persistent social rejection could have a profound impact on a person's psyche, especially when it comes from the people around you. While it might have contributed to what Crooks became, it isn't the only factor. Crooks' online life was a major influence on who he became. Police discovered that he had very interesting search phrases like "How far away was Oswald from Kennedy?" on the internet a week before the assassination. This is a clear indication that he was researching his way onto the crime. But that's not all. He also had a keen interest in different big figures in social media. The man had pictures of President Biden, Attorney General Merrick Garland, and even a member of the British royal family in his phone. This means that his interest wasn't only in Trump, but any other person of influence in society. Can this really still be regarded as hate? Well, when you link things up, it appears more of a mission that wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Crooks had been meticulously planning this attack for months. According to the FBI, his plan might have started as early as July 6th. But what makes his plan unique was its simplicity. Crooks didn't have to look far to get his hands on a weapon. He used an AR-15 style rifle that belonged to his father. This gun had a collapsible stock, making it easier to hide. Interestingly, Crooks and his dad were members of the Clearton Sportsman's Club where they had been practicing shooting. In fact, the day before the attack, Crooks went to this club to practice on the rifle range. It seemed that he was determined to hit his target regardless of the circumstances. However, this wasn't the only preparation our guy had for this mission. Crooks also bought 50 rounds of ammunition for his rifle. But that's not all. He even stopped at a Home Depot to purchase a 5-foot ladder. You might be asking, what was the purpose of the ladder? Well, this was a crucial necessity since a sniper needs to be higher than his target. And since Crooks chose to execute his mission while Donald Trump was giving his speech, the ladder could come in handy when climbing onto the roofs of the buildings. Coming back to the mission, Crooks drove alone to Butler, parked about a third of a mile from the event, and spent at least half an hour walking around before climbing onto the roof of a nearby building. Coincidentally, the Secret Service couldn't deploy their counter-unmanned aerial system before the rally due to cellular connectivity problems. This is a big deal, because if they had, they might have spotted the drone Crooks used for his early surveillance of the site. It's crazy to think that a simple tech issue could have such consequences. However, that wasn't the only luck this guy had. The on-site security measures were also lacking. Can you believe that they didn't have an agent or armed law enforcement officer on the roof where Crooks was? The building was only 150 yards away with a clear line of sight to Trump's podium. It's a critical error that could have been easily avoided with proper planning. However, with the response time being that slow, it became a huge problem. Crooks was first noticed acting suspiciously near the magnetometers and then seen climbing a ladder. Despite this, officers couldn't find him before he made it to the roof. It's concerning that someone could slip through the cracks like that. The lack of communication could have been the most worrying aspect of this whole episode. Police officers had Crooks on their radar for almost a whole hour before the shooting incident. One of the SWAT operators even snapped a picture of him, which was forwarded in a text message group more than 30 minutes prior to the assault. But here's the twist. The Secret Service command post wasn't informed of a suspicious person until 17:46 p.m., only a few minutes before the shooting. To make matters worse, when a police officer finally spotted Crooks with a long gun on the roof, this crucial information stayed in state and local law enforcement channels and was never relayed to the Secret Service. It's clear that there were some serious communication issues between different agencies. This attempt has really brought a lot of changes in our political system. It's as if we have woken up to the reality that such things as heated speech and division are not good for us. Tony Perkins, a major figure in the Christian conservative movement, labeled this as a wake-up call and even chose to avoid a confrontation that he was going to stage at the Republican National Convention. It's a very harsh lesson on how our words and deeds can lead to something tangible, often something as deadly as violence. The way this attack unfolded has really rattled people's sense of security. The fact that someone could get that close to a former president with a weapon is pretty alarming. Bob Ayers, an ex-CIA officer, didn't mince words when he said the Secret Service didn't do a very good job. It's making folks question how safe our public figures really are, and by extension, how safe we all are in public spaces. The media's role in all this is huge, and not always in a good way. Within minutes of the shooting, misinformation was spreading like wildfire on social media. Peak Metrics, a cyber firm, found that mentions of Trump on social media shot up to 17 times the average daily amount. People were throwing out all sorts of wild theories, from blaming China to Antifa. It's a stark reminder of how social media can fuel confusion and distrust in these critical moments. Well, that marks the end of today's video. We hope you liked and loved it. On your way out, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like these. Till next time.